My name is Mzee Kamau, and I have lived in our village for 70 long seasons. I have seen many things, but none as strange and terrifying as what happened to young Otieno one fateful night. Our village, nestled between rolling hills and the great acacia forest, has always been a place of deep traditions. We respect the spirits, honor the ancestors, and follow the wisdom passed down from those who came before us. One such wisdom is this: never leave your shoes outside at night. It is not merely a superstition but a warning, one that Otieno, in his youthful defiance, chose to ignore. It began on the evening of the full moon festival. The village was alive with drumming and dancing, laughter echoing through the open fields. Otieno, a bright young man known for his sharp tongue and even sharper wit, had just returned from the city, where he had been attending school. He had little patience for the old ways and often scoffed at what he called village fears. That night, he returned to his grandmother's hut after the celebrations, kicked off his leather sandals, and left them by the door. "Mama Otieno," he called to his grandmother, "I'm too tired to listen to your ghost stories tonight. Let me sleep." The old woman sighed but said nothing. She simply shook her head and stirred the embers of the dying fire, muttering a quiet prayer under her breath. The night was cool, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. Owls hooted from the trees, and the distant roar of a leopard sent shivers through the night. But nothing seemed amiss until the whispering began. At first, it was so soft that Otieno thought it was the wind slipping through the cracks in the hut. Then it grew louder, insistent, like the rustling of dry leaves in a whirlwind. He turned on his mat, his heart pounding. And then, silence. For a moment, all he could hear was his own breath. But then came the scraping, a slow, deliberate sound, like something being dragged across the earth just outside his door. Otieno sat up, his mouth suddenly dry. "Who's there?" he whispered. No answer. He crept to the door, his curiosity outweighing his fear. Slowly, he pushed the wooden frame open and peered outside. The moon cast a silver glow over the village, and the trees swayed gently. But his sandals were gone. His eyes darted across the compound, searching. And then he saw them. They were not far, only a few feet away, but they were moving on their own. Otieno blinked, convinced he was seeing things. But no, the sandals were shuffling away, as if an invisible force guided them. His breath hitched, and a cold dread coiled in his stomach. He stepped forward, his bare feet pressing into the cool earth. "Who's playing tricks on me?" he called, his voice steadier than he felt. A gust of wind answered him, carrying with it a whisper, his name, spoken as though from many voices at once. A chorus of hushed, sinister murmurs. He froze. The sandals were now at the edge of the compound, at the boundary where the village ended and the dark of the forest began. A sudden, eerie realization dawned upon him. The old stories spoke of spirits, wandering, restless spirits, that sought what was left behind. And if they took it, they would come back for the owner. Otieno turned, ready to rush inside. But before he could move, the whispering grew into a wail, and an unseen force yanked at his feet. He was pulled forward, his body scraping against the ground. He screamed, but the night swallowed his voice. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the force released him. He scrambled to his feet and ran back to the hut, slamming the door behind him. He did not sleep the rest of the night. At dawn, his grandmother found him huddled in a corner, his face pale, his body trembling. Without a word, she walked to the edge of the compound and retrieved his sandals, now covered in mud and something darker, something like soot or ash. "You were lucky," she said gravely, placing them before him. "Had they reached the forest, you would not be here." Otieno never left his shoes outside again, and from that day on, neither did anyone else in the village.